My aunt's 12-year-old son had come to live with me. My aunt was also with me. I was desperately yearning for a man. Finally, I could not control my emotions and ended up with my aunt's 12-year-old son. I came out of the washroom humming. My hair was completely soaked. Water was dripping from my hair. I was standing in front of the mirror, looking at myself carefully, and at the same time trying to brush my hair. There was a strange restlessness in my heart. I was very beautiful, young, but still the lack in my life was not being fulfilled in any way. I wanted to get married like every girl, have my own house, and have someone to love in my life. This desire was increasing day by day, but there was no solution to it because my mother did not want me to get married. Even now, I found myself blushing, so my heart started beating restlessly. The desire to be with someone started stirring in my heart. I started to look away from myself, but as soon as I felt someone's eyes focused on me, it felt like someone was watching me very carefully. I turned around and saw a sword standing at the door. A smile came on my face as soon as I saw the sword. He was a 12-year-old child, but a little taller and wider. There was an innocent, beautiful, and sweet child, seeing whom my heart beat fast. The look on his face drove me crazy. He was standing at the door, looking at me with deep eyes. I gestured to him to come in, and he quickly ran. I held his hand and sat on the bed and started asking why he was standing at the door and watching. Why didn't he come in? He glanced at me and said, "Mama has forbidden me from coming into your room." Hearing this, I was surprised and asked, "Why has Auntie forbidden me? You can come into my room whenever you want." He was happy to hear me. He said, "Actually, Mama says that Ruby is getting young. She doesn't know herself, but don't go into her room without a fight." Hearing these words from Shamshir, I stared at him in surprise because his manner showed that he was embarrassed while saying this. He was a 1-year-old child. I was a young girl of 20 years old. Why did my uncle say such a thing to him? He should have taken some things into consideration. The suspicion in my heart for my uncle had increased even more. Well, I grabbed him by force and pressed him to my chest and said, "Shamshir, you can come to my room whenever you want. You don't need to knock on the door." Hearing my words, happiness came to his face. Then he said, "Let's go to the roof. We will fly a kite." I smiled and started to wrap my hair, but Shamshir gently said, "Don't wrap your hair. I like your open hair very much." After hearing her, I stared at her with wide eyes and then went with her to the terrace. She had come to our house for a few days and I wanted us to spend a few days together. Anyway, I liked spending time with Shamshir because my loneliness had gone away with Shamshir's presence, but Auntie kept her away from me. She didn't let her come to my room much or let us spend time alone. I don't know what was wrong with her. If Shamshir and I were talking, she would sit in the middle and listen to us very carefully. If we were chatting in solitude, she would pick up Shamshir on some pretext or the other. But now, as soon as I got the chance, I reached the terrace with Shamshir and started flying a kite. We were having a lot of fun together, but somehow Auntie got angry. After a while, Auntie came to the roof and got angry seeing Shamshir. She said, "The Maghrib call to prayer is about to be heard. What are you doing on the roof?" Then Auntie glanced at me. I had just taken a bath and came out a while ago. That's why my clothes were getting a little wet. My long hair was loose. I had put mascara on my eyes. That's probably why I became the center of Auntie's gaze. She said, "Ruby, be careful. It's about time for Maghrib. You don't care about your dupatta or your clothes. Even the boys from the street neighborhood play on our roof. Your mother is lost in some world. You have made our life difficult. You will not be at peace until you stain our honor." Saying this, Auntie grabbed Shamshir's hand and went down. Auntie's style had set fire to my body. I don't know what enmity he had with me that he was like that. What kind of things did she say? What had I done that would tarnish her honor? I followed her downstairs carrying a kite and a spinning wheel, but Amma started looking at me with angry eyes because her words had also reached her ears. Amma took my hand and took me to her room and said, "Don't you know that your Amma has come for 15, 20 days? Control your actions for a few days? Have you forgotten the previous spectacle? Your father will return at night and your aunt will make a mess, and then I will get tired of cleaning your father." After hearing what Amma said, I looked at Amma angrily and said, "What is my fault?" I went to the roof on Shamshir's request. That child lives alone all the time. He has come here for holidays. At least he should enjoy himself. Amma folded her hands in front of me and said, "It is not your responsibility to make Shamshir enjoy himself. Your aunt came here after getting rid of her in-laws. She has nothing to do with Shamshir. It is better for you to stay away from her. Otherwise, we will face some trouble. Your aunt has a habit of making the whole family watch." Amma sternly explained to me and said, "Go and cook food. If I could, I would find a relationship and marry you so that I could save my life from this tragedy. My heart is always beating fast, hoping that you will do something wrong and we will regret it for the rest of our lives." Amma was sitting on the bed, muttering to herself, while Amma's words made me even more angry. I went to the kitchen and started cooking. I also wanted to get married, but I didn't want to marry a passerby. I was cooking food in anger. After a while, Shamshir also came there and said slowly, "Ruby, I don't eat bitter gourds. I will cook something else." She used to talk to me in the same way. I gave her an angry look and said, "Because of you, Auntie has already become very angry. Amma has also told me a lot of things. Now don't come to the kitchen." Hearing my words, she smiled and came closer to me and said, "Leave it to Amma. Amma used to shout at everything. I find you very cute, just like that." She grabbed my cheeks with her pinch and pulled them. I looked at him from head to toe. He was equal to me in height. He was not as young as I thought, or as his mother thought. He was a very nervous young man. Seeing the love in his eyes for me, I smiled slowly and told him, "Okay, you sit at the dining table. I'll make something of your choice right now. I don't like bitter gourds either." Then I quickly started cooking spaghetti on the other stove. Shamshir and I were sitting happily and eating spaghetti when Auntie came over and started saying, "I know everything. You do so much for my son. I know very well what your intentions are behind it, but what you want will never happen." Auntie grabbed Shamshir's hand and angrily lifted him from me. Tears welled up in my eyes at Auntie's behavior. I also left the bowl of spaghetti like that and went to the room. I kept shedding tears for a long time, wondering what was my mistake that Auntie used to offer me like this. Then at around 12 o'clock at night, Shamshir came to my room with her feet pressed against my bed. I was busy on my mobile phone lying on the floor and woke up in shock. As soon as I saw him, I folded my hands and said, "Go back. I can't bear any more disrespect." Tears filled my eyes. He looked at me carefully and said, "Your tears are not good. It seems you are not sleeping either. I know that you are sleepy. I can fix your mood in a short time. I know what you are yearning for." I was surprised to hear him say this at first, and then when I understood what he meant, I smiled and looked at him. He slowly entered. Then he closed the door of the room and said, "I am not sleeping either. But if Mama finds out that I am here, there will be a commotion. That is why I have closed the door." Then he came near me and lay down very close to me. I gently ran my hand through his silky hair and said without wanting to, "I have fallen very alone and lonely in Shashir. No one will understand me. To whom should I express my feelings? To whom should I tell what my heart wants?" After listening to me, he smiled and ran his finger on my cheek and said, "Ruby, you are very sweet. I want us to be together for the rest of our lives. I know about your feelings. I know how much you love me." He was worried and lonely. He was talking as if he were not a 12-year-old child, but a mature man. When I looked into his eyes, he showed me a lot of love. I kissed his forehead and said, "If you want, I will be the same. You and I can always be together. Let another relationship be established between us. But you know that this is not possible. You have come here just to spend a few days of vacation. After completing the vacation, you will return, and I will be alone again." After listening to me, Shamshir slowly said something that made me lose my senses. I said, "Your mind is fine. If your uncle finds out, they will take my life." He said, "How will your uncle find out? She must have fallen asleep by now." Shamshir took the mobile phone from my hand and then quickly moved his fingers on the mobile phone and placed it in front of me. The screen lit up in front of me. I started to feel ashamed and he started enjoying the changing colors of my face. He said, "I am lying here peacefully. Don't worry." For a while I felt ashamed, but then gradually all my shame and modesty disappeared. I was not ashamed of Shamshir, and I took the mobile phone and lay down on my back. After a long time, I was busy with my mobile phone. After that, when I put the phone down, my eyes fell on Shamshir, who had probably fallen asleep while waiting for me. I fell in love with him involuntarily, and I went forward and kissed his cheeks and then lay down next to him. Thanks to Shamshir, I slept. The emotions that had been aroused had awakened, and now it was even more difficult for me to be alone. I had spent the whole night in a state of anxiety, sometimes looking at the sword, sometimes at the mobile phone, and then just like that, I fell asleep. But the next morning, I got angry when my aunt started looking for Shamshir, and he met me in my room. My aunt watched me closely and told my father to take care of my daughter. Her behavior is not right. I had come here for a few days to relax, but she has started to spoil my children too. Because of this, my in-laws have already lost their respect. They have done such things before, and now it has started again. My aunt's words had stabbed me in the heart. It was not my fault. Shamshir himself had come to me, and she was accusing me of being a sinner. Whatever had happened by Shamshir's will. But before I could say anything, my father looked at me angrily and said, "Ruby, be careful. Whatever you want, nothing can happen. Because of you, your uncle's life is becoming difficult. For God's sake, have mercy on us, and now go to your room." I went to my room silently with tears in my eyes. I did not come out of the room in anger for 2 days. My mother was taking care of the entire housework, and then 2 nights later, when Shamshir got a chance, he came to my room again with his feet pressed against his. Immediately, he locked the door. I was shocked to see this and said angrily, "Shamshir, what are you doing? It has already been too long." He came straight to me and said, "Can you control your emotions? Is it possible for you to live like this?" I took a deep breath and shook my head in denial. He pulled the pink flowered sheet that was covering my body, and suddenly with his hand, I was only 16 years old when I found out what love is and what love is. I went to my uncle's house with my mother. My mother had gone to give some gifts because my uncle's brother-in-law was getting married, and before the wedding, she had taken a gift for the bride. Before that, I had been to my uncle's in-laws many times. But this was the first time I had seen this person who made my heart stop beating. He was my uncle's 22-year-old brother-in-law who had suddenly entered the drawing room by mistake and was shocked to see me and my mother. Then perhaps he recognized my mother. That's why he greeted my mother and started asking how she was, and I kept looking at this tall, broad young man in surprise. He was exactly like the prince of my dreams. I myself was touching the limits of beauty and youth at the age of 16, but my eyes were fixed on him. He must have also felt the concentration of my eyes. He was looking at me with his eyes while talking to my mother, and he had entered my heart from there. Actually, at that time, I didn't even know who he was, but after he left, when I asked my mother, she told me that he was my uncle's brother-in-law. He lives in another city and rarely comes here. He had come for a wedding. He had a job in another city. Even after he left, I kept looking at the door for a long time, hoping that I might catch a glimpse of him again. My heart was eager to see him again, and at that moment I knew that I had fallen in love with this person. His loving tone, the mischief in his eyes, his furtive glance at me made my heart beat. I had become familiar with the touch of love, but I didn't know how difficult this love of mine, this feeling that arose in a few moments, would make my life. Love sometimes takes big tests, and my love also had to go through the same tests. 2 weeks after this small meeting, my uncle's wedding began. I had gone to attend the wedding, so my aunt forcibly stopped me. Amidst the noise and commotion in the wedding hall, I had several clashes with Razak. He would examine me with his deep gaze every time and say meaningful sentences. On the night of the Mendi, when the function started and everyone started dancing and singing, Razak came close to me. He started dancing with me amidst so many people. I felt a little shy, but he did not back down. At that time, I did not realize it much. But when my aunt looked at me with strange eyes and took me out of there and took me aside, I came to my senses. She angrily said, "Be a little shy. This is my in-laws. Everyone is looking at you with strange eyes. Don't make a spectacle of me." I was a little scared after being scolded by my aunt. I then started keeping myself away from Razak, but he would find me at some opportunity and start talking to me until gradually a series of love songs began between us. He was also young, and emotions were running high. There was no knowledge of right and wrong. That's why both of them started on the path of love, and then the numbers were exchanged. The love and affection talks increased. He had given his heart to me and wanted to marry me. But hearing this, my heart was racing because I knew the nature of my aunts. If they had come to know about this, I don't know what would have happened. Razak's sister left and I returned to my home. But Razak and I did not end our relationship. On some pretext or another, he would appear near my college. Sometimes he would call me under the pretext of a sword. Then, 2 months later, my aunt came to our house one day and created a big commotion saying that I had invited Ruby to attend the wedding, but she ruined my in-laws. My brother-in-law, Razak, has insisted that I will marry Ruby, and now my mother-in-law is taunting me because she has already arranged Razak's relationship elsewhere. My mother-in-law says that I belong to a bad family, and all this is because of Ruby. It has happened. I wish I hadn't invited Ruby to the wedding. I'm sure she herself tried to trap Razak. Auntie had made all sorts of accusations against me. I was turning 17, and at that young age, when my own uncle said such things about me, my parents were heartbroken. My mother started being strict with me. My studies were over, and I was confined within the four walls of the house. But my family didn't know that I was in touch with Razak on the phone. That's why my phone wasn't taken from me. I had also embarked on a journey of love. So I would secretly talk to Razak at night and tell him what my uncle had done. Hearing this, he himself became angry with my uncle. He said that my uncle was lying and that all the trouble was happening because of her. He and my uncle started fighting, and Auntie held me responsible for all this, whereas I had no fault at all except that I was in love. I had told my mother clearly that she would never make me her daughter-in-law. My mother was also very upset. She had also clearly said that we should not marry Razak and Ruby. Tension had increased on both sides. This problem continued like this for a long time. Whenever my relationship came and went, I would do something or the other that they would stop me and leave. It was not possible for me to give Razak's place to someone else. That's why I started shooting myself in the foot. My mother also did not understand why this was happening. I was young and beautiful, so it was really surprising for me to refuse relationships out of ego or willfulness. But my mother had no idea that I was behind it. Whenever someone talked about getting married, I would tell them the story of my love. Then my mobile phone was taken away from me and I was left completely alone. Every night I would toss and turn and worry and not understand what to do or not do, how to get my love. I was starting to feel a lack of sustenance. Then, after many years, my aunt had a fight with her mother-in-law and came to our house for a few days. By then, I had also gotten my phone back. I had not been able to talk to Razak, but through Shamshir, Razak's heart condition had reached me. Shamshir had told me many times in conversation that Razak missed me, that he loved his uncle very much, and had become a confidant of our love at the age of 12. This was something that the aunt could not tolerate at all. She knew that her son wanted to make me his aunt. That is why she used to keep him away from me time and again. But Shamshir was not that young either. He was aware of my feelings. That is why he once again sneaked into my room, pulled my sheet, held my mobile phone in my hand and said, "Uncle is waiting for you outside. Come on, I lost my life after hearing this." He pulled me and took me out. Razak was standing waiting for me and said, "Your aunt says something here, something there. My mother has no objection to this relationship, but your aunt has completely abandoned you. My in-laws have declared me a bad character, and here she is harassing my mother. It is better that we both do what our hearts desire and get married. Then whoever has to accept will do it." I tried to explain to Razak that this is wrong, but he had already stirred up my emotions a lot on the video call. Shamshir had called me at night. Razak was on the video call. He had talked to me about love and affection for me for several hours and had also assured me of his love. Perhaps that is why I agreed to him and ran away with him. We had a court marriage in the morning, and when I returned home in the afternoon, my aunt beat me and badmouthed me in the whole neighborhood. But Razak took me by the hand and took me to his house. He talked to his mother and told her about my uncle's character. My mother-in-law accepted me with great difficulty. After a few days I spent in my in-laws' house, my mother-in-law realized that Razak was right and uncle was wrong. uncle had defamed me and my mother-in-law and his family. Therefore, Razak's mother did not want to adopt me. While whenever Auntie came to our house, she would do such evil things to her in-laws that my parents would touch their ears. But she would lie to both sides, and I understood this well with the passing of time. Gradually, my in-laws had made a place for me, and then I understood that Auntie did not want to make me his own friend. She wanted to show me the jealousy she had towards her mother. My parents had accepted this relationship for my happiness and my mother-in-law too. If there was anyone jealous left, it was my auntie. But I was grateful to Shamshir, who had worked hard to unite our love. After a while, my auntie got into an argument and separated from her in-laws, and I started living with my mother-in-law and father-in-law. Today I am happy in my own house, but my auntie is still burning with jealousy.